everyone, my name is Jessica Vanell and welcome back to another r/Tales from the Front Desk Storytime video. I am so glad that you enjoyed the return of this series. I have a lot of fun reading these stories, and like I said last time, I am backlogged on these stories. Now, just like last time, all of the stories I'm reading have already been turned into skits. And just like last time, I will be linking the original stories from Reddit as well as the skits that were inspired by these stories in the description on YouTube. So check that out if you're interested. And let me know which of these stories you remember from their skits. Now, I'm not going to make this intro any longer because I know when I'm watching these videos, I just want the stories to get told. So let's start with story number 1, wife pissed I won't give her the room number when she's not on the reservation. I remember an entitled guest who was just so upset at me for something her husband did. The husband checked in alone. I checked him in, gave him his room keys, and sent him on the way to the room. The husband never mentioned that his wife was staying with him and would be stopping by to pick up a key. A few hours later, a woman walks in. Here's how that interaction goes. Welcome to Schmampton Inn. How can I help you? I need a key for my room. May I have your name? Entitled woman. I can't find any reservation under that name, either checked in or pending. Oh, it may be under my husband's name. Normal husband. Okay, we do have a room under that name, but I cannot give you a key because your name isn't on the reservation. If you need to call up to the room, you can pick up the lobby phone over to the side here, and I can transfer the call to your husband's room. What do you mean you can't give me a key? It's for me and my husband. He checked in already and has the key, but he should have told you I'd be picking up a key later. I do apologize, but he didn't provide any instructions. If you would like to ring the room, the lobby phone is... I don't want to ring the room. I want you to give me a key to my room. I don't have any reservation with your name on it, so I cannot give you a key. With the tone of someone explaining quantum physics to a first grader, she says, the room isn't under my name. It's under my husband's name. I need a key because I'm staying in the same room as my husband. I internally roll my eyes and take a deep, steadying breath. Unless your name is specifically listed on the room, I cannot give you a key or the room number. If you would like to ring the room, please pick up the lobby phone over there and I can ring the room for you. That way you can speak to your husband and get the room number from him. I just don't understand why you can't just give me the room number for my husband's room. Here, this is my driver's license. You can see we have the same address. Just give me the room number or let me speak to your supervisor. I am the front desk supervisor. No other manager is available at the moment. Since you are choosing not to pick up the lobby phone and ring the room, allow me to call the room myself and speak with your husband. I pick up the phone and start to call the room. I don't even get halfway through the room number before the woman starts to yell. I just don't understand why you can't give me the room number. It's my husband. Don't you understand that? What, are you stupid? Can't you understand a basic concept like that? I turn on my best military voice. If you continue to yell like that, you will be asked to leave and you will not be staying with us tonight. I am trying to find every option available to me, but you refuse to cooperate. Now, let me ask you this question. Suppose for a second that you were in an abusive relationship and you finally found the courage to leave your spouse and you needed a place to stay for a few days. You book a room in a hotel, but somehow your spouse found out where you were staying and they tried to get a room key from the front desk by acting the way you just did. How do you think you would feel if the front desk just gave your abusive spouse a key? Well, I'm not being abusive to my husband. What are you trying to say? I didn't say you were, but just imagine if that was the case. Would you want the front desk to give your husband a key without checking with you first? That's what I've been trying to do this whole time. If you want to avoid this hassle in the future, please ensure your name is added to the reservation at check-in. If your name is on the room, you can get a key. No problem. If not, problem. Now, will you please allow me to call your husband's room? She says nothing but just glares daggers at me. I finally call the room, but no one answers. Just then, the elevator door opens and the husband walks out. I hang up the phone and wave him over. "Ah, Mr. Normal Husband, I was just calling you. Is anyone else going to be staying with you in the room? If so, we need to add their names to the room so they can get keys." The entitled woman is still fuming at me, but I'm so grateful she didn't interrupt. The normal husband says, "Oh, yeah, my wife's staying with me." He then hands his wife a room key with the folder showing the room number. I say, "Okay, I will be sure to add her name to the reservation. Thank you both for your time and have a great night." I thought that was the end of it, but later that same night, the couple returned. The woman says to me, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I realized after talking with my husband that you have no way of knowing what's going on between a couple and you were just trying to be safe. Thank you for your security process and thank you for putting up with me." Her husband gives me a knowing glance and a clear "I'm sorry too" look. I thanked them both and went on with my day. Just another day at the front desk. Ooh, okay, the only unrealistic part of that story is the fact that the woman came back down to apologize, but thank goodness it sounds like she and her husband had a conversation and her husband, pointed out the fact that the front desk was literally just doing their job. So, maybe you don't need to scream and go completely off the deep end when you don't get your way. But that is the unfortunate reality of these situations. I will never forget that when I was training to work at my very first hotel, we were going over this exact scenario, and my trainer actually had a story of when she was working at the front desk of that same hotel, very similar situation. A woman walked in and said, "Hey, I need a key to my husband's room." Showed her ID, same last name, same address, but she wasn't on the room. My trainer told her, "We're so sorry, but your name needs to be on the reservation. You can call your husband, he can come down, like whatever, but he needs to be the one to add your name to the reservation. We can't just give you a key." And to fast forward the story, the woman starts to get belligerent and get really riled up to the point that the trainer actually had to call our in-hotel security to come deal with her. And then I believe the police were even called because she was being that belligerent and uncooperative. The police come and they find out that the woman who was trying to get a key to her husband's room and the husband were going through a divorce. And in her bag, they found illicit substances that she was planning to plant into the hotel room in order to gain full custody of the children because they were going through a very fraught divorce process. And that, just like the story said, you don't know what's going on in people's married lives, so you can't just trust a same last name and a same address. You got to be diligent and careful with these situations. People are crazy. All right, the next story has a brilliant title: "The Lion, the Witch, and the Audacity of This Witch. Don't book a single room for your whole family under the assumption that we'll upgrade you for free. Sometimes people are entitled assholes. Even worse are the entitled a-holes who book using third parties. That's the type of person this story is about. I'll call her Kim. It's a busy AF night. We are completely booked and have no rooms left to sell. So Kim comes in at like 9:30 p.m. having booked a pet-friendly single room, one queen bed, as a prepaid, non-refundable reservation through booking.com. She comes to the desk, tells me her name, and says, "And I'll take a free upgrade, thanks." And then just kept going through her purse as if she didn't just say some entitled shit. That ain't how this works, ma'am. I blinked at her a few times until she looked up and I said, "I'm sold out. There aren't any other rooms available to upgrade you to." She immediately jumped to saying, "Well, booking.com told me I could book this room and then ask for an upgrade when I got here and you'd give it to me." Did they now? I can't say whether they did or not. To be honest, it could go either way. I can see them doing that and I could see Kim making that up. Let me also just say that if you book OTA, we aren't giving you an upgrade unless something in your room was seriously messed up and another room of the same type isn't available. If you book a standard room, I can't put you in any other room type anyway. When thinking about who to upgrade, we cross off OTA reservations first. I tell her, "Ma'am, even if I did have a room to give you, I wouldn't be able to switch you because you booked a prepaid non-refundable reservation and I'm not able to edit those that way. But Booking.com said you would give me an upgrade. Well, Booking.com lied to you, bro. Like I said, this is the room you booked. I'm all sold out and I can't change your reservation. Well, what am I supposed to do, huh? I have my kids and my husband with me. We can't all sleep in a single room. Okay, then don't book a single room for your whole family and assume I'll give you another one for free when you show up. The entitlement. I can't believe I have to say this, but if you're traveling with your whole family, you need to book a room that accommodates your whole family. I say, well, that's up to you. I can bring some extra pillows and blankets if you'd like, and I think I still have a rollaway available if you want that. Kim says it's not acceptable and wants to be upgraded. I can't give you a room I don't have, Your Majesty. I said, that's the best I could do. Bottom line, would you like the rollaway bed I offered? Kim starts to take a breath and her 10-year-old daughter interrupts her and says, yes. I looked at the daughter and said, sounds good. I'll bring it to your room when I have them in it. And then I finished checking them in. Pretty bad when your 10-year-old kid is more reasonable than you are. Oh, I told my manager about it and she checked the cameras. I thought it was just 4 people she was going to have in the room. My manager told me she counted 9 people going into that room. She said it was like a clown car. All these people just kept packing in there. All I could think was, yep, that's a fire hazard. Insane. People, book the room you need. Don't walk in and expect us to give you a free upgrade. A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. I had a very similar situation happen at the first hotel I ever worked at. This guy came to check in with his whole family and he told me that he had booked a room for like 8 people to sleep in. And at this hotel, you could put as many people on the booking as you wanted. Like you could tell the system that you wanted to put 16 people in that room and the system would let you book it. I think eventually they fixed it to where you could only have a maximum amount of people put as guests on the reservation. But you know, this was just how it was at that hotel at the time. So he said that he had booked the room to sleep 8 people. So why were there only 2 beds in it? And I was like, well, because you booked a room with 2 beds. And he said that that was unacceptable and that we needed to do something because it was all our fault, because how could he possibly sleep 8 people in 2 beds? And I was telling him, sir, you booked the 2-bed room. Like, it's not the hotel's responsibility to sleep however many people you want to put in this room. We tell you how many people can sleep in this room, you make that work. And it was fully a ploy for him to try to get any free thing he could out of the hotel. Like, he absolutely knew what he was doing. I think eventually we gave him like a discount on a rollaway bed. I remember I was so angry with him and so annoyed with his attitude that I told my management that they had better not let him have a rollaway bed for free, because again, he was so obviously trying to get something free out of us and basically trying to scam us. So I think my management just finally gave him like a discount on a rollaway bed, but they certainly did not give him an extra room and they did not give him the rollaway for free. All right, next story. This one is titled, "The Only One Who Loses Is You." No, sir. Clearly the only one who loses here is you. There is a lot of overlap between entitled assholes and shiny members. Lots of our shiny members are super nice and friendly, and lots are also douchebags who think they're entitled to whatever they want just because of their status. If you don't work in a hotel, I'ma just tell you now that we don't care about your shiny status. And if you start bitching and throwing around the whole whiny, but I'm a super sparkly member thing, it isn't going to get you anything except a room next to the 2nd floor elevator. So Bruce comes in and the reservation is under his wife's name because she used her shiny points to book a discounted night online. Cool, that's fine. More power to her. She stayed at our hotel before and she's a super nice lady. She also called ahead of Bruce's stay and made sure it was okay for her to book it under her account online, even though Bruce would be the only one staying this time, which we said was fine. I click the name and start checking him in. I ask for a credit card and he tells me no because it was booked online. Very astute observation, Bruce. It was indeed booked online, but it wasn't paid for online. The points only covered a portion of the cost. He refused to give me his card, so I told him that if he couldn't give me a card, I couldn't give him a room. He mumbled something under his breath and tossed the card on the counter. I'm inputting the information and Bruce asks what type of room it is. I tell him it's a room with 2 queen beds. He says, I don't want that one. I want a suite. I'm sorry, but if you book it online using points to pay for part/all of it, I can't edit anything on the reservation. The system literally will give me a message saying I can't make changes to a Shiny Points reservation, and not even my managers are able to override that here. But I'm a Shiny member. I use my points. This is ridiculous. No, Bruce, your wife used her points. My God, I bet she was relieved to get you out of the house. Like I said, I can't change anything on this type of reservation. Well, then make me a new reservation for a suite. Okay, I can do that, but then you'll be paying for both rooms. No, I wouldn't. Just cancel the first one. I can't, as it's already long past our cancellation deadline. It is not past your cancellation deadline. Oh, my apologies, my liege. Clearly you are right, and not I, the lowly court jester employed here, who has the cancellation policy pulled up on the computer in front of her. Please let me lick your boots as a token of my repentance. Yes, it is. See right here, it says 24 hours before 4 p.m. on the night of arrival. This is ridiculous. Just give me the damn room from the reservation you already have then. You know what? The only one who loses here is you. I'm losing? We still get your money and your business, dude. You, on the other hand, get to grumble in your elevator adjacent room by yourself all night about how mean the front desk agent was to you when you're clearly a Shiny member. Sounds like the only one who's losing here is you, buddy. I raised my eyebrows and didn't say anything besides, sure. No problem. Bruce snatched the room keys out of my hand and I didn't see him for the rest of the night. I most certainly put him next to the second floor elevator. Suck my brick, pal. Leap of logic there is just so funny. You're still losing, even though I'm still giving you my money and I'm being checked into the room I originally booked. Like, huh? Next story. I messed up. Pay me money. This happened a few days ago. Friday, to be exact. We had a gentleman do a mobile check-in, and as all of you probably know, that means we use the card that the guest has authorized, and he never needs to come to the desk. It's great. Except when it's not. I'm the manager on duty, and I'm running one of my daily reports at the start of my shift when an associate comes back to me asking for help with the guest. He had come up to her and slammed his phone down, saying, "You charged the wrong card." We, of course, changed out his card, the one he had authorized for his mobile check-in, mind you, for another one. He asks that I refund the charge on the first card, and I confirm that we released the hold on the first card, and now it's up to his bank how quickly it reflects in his account. He says, "Well, can't you do it now?" I once again explain that we have released the hold, and now it's up to his bank. He then tells me, "Well, this took me over my limit, and now my bank is going to charge me $50, so you're going to have to credit me that." Unfortunately, sir, that's not something we're going to be able to do. We just used the card you had authorized us to use when you requested a mobile check-in. "Well, I'll just contact corporate," he says triumphantly, like he just figured out all the secrets of the universe. He did not. "Okay, sir, is there anything else I can do for you today?" He stormed off into the night, never to be seen again, except for when he came down for dinner. LOL. Still have not gotten a customer care case from Schmariot. Oh well. So I recently had someone reach out to me and ask what I thought of mobile check-in. And honestly, in most situations, I think it's perfectly fine. I actually think it's great a lot of the time because if a guest is waiting to check into the hotel, they can just check the app to see the status of their room instead of constantly having to come up to the front desk and ask them whether or not the room is ready. Of course, when they do check in, they have everything right there in front of them. They don't have to wait in line. They can verify all of their information and whether or not it's correct before they check into the hotel. And then they just get to go up to their room and they never have to wait in line or go through the whole check-in process with someone if they don't want to. And honestly, I think that can be pretty great. And then it also gives the front desk some more time to focus on the tasks that they need to complete throughout their own day, because a lot of the time at many hotels, the front desk staff doesn't just check people in and check people out. There's a lot of other things that they need to be working on in addition to checking people in and checking people out. Again, it depends on the size of the hotel you work at and the size of your team, but when I worked at a very small boutique hotel, I had so much more to do apart from checking people in and checking people out, and I was really looking forward to when our hotel got the mobile check-in compatibility, because that meant I could focus more on those tasks that I need to complete. And also, if people aren't having to wait in line just to check in, that's great for them too. However, that does still lead to issues like this, where a guest will still blame the front desk for an issue that they made. Like, it's just, everything is a double-edged sword. There are pros and cons to everything, right? So, yeah. All right, the next story. Guest rented a room for 2 hours, claimed he never used the room, and then demanded a refund. Turns out he's just a bad liar. I'll try to keep this one somewhat short. Checked in a man around midnight. I'll refer to him as guest 1. He paid in cash and specifically requested 2 keys. I put him in a room on the first floor, per his request, and right down the hall from the front desk. He walks outside, and I don't see him again. Several minutes later, I see another man walk in. I'll refer to him as guest 2. I haven't seen guest 2 before, but he has a key. I hear the door to the room I just sold open and close. I figured that was someone traveling with guest 1. He requested 2 keys, so it makes sense. About an hour later, I see guest 2 leave, and he doesn't come back. Keep in mind, at this point, I still haven't seen guest 1. Another hour passes, and I'm about to start the audit. Guest 1 finally comes back and tells me, "Hey, I decided not to stay here and I need my money back. I haven't been to the room." I find something off about this, so I said, "Okay, let me just check the room real quick. I'll be back." I grab a master key and he starts following me. Ugh. I open the door and of course the bed is messed up. He walks in the room and grabs his phone charger off the nightstand that he obviously forgot. Again, he tells me he hasn't been in the room while he's rolling up the charger and putting it in his pocket. I'm like, "Sir, how is your phone charger in here and the bedding not made if you haven't entered the room?" This starts an argument. He's giving me excuses that I honestly don't even remember because they're so dumb. He tells me at least 3 separate times that he wasn't in the room, yet his charger somehow made its way onto the nightstand. He keeps contradicting himself and I feel like he's gaslighting me. At this point, I'm over it and I let him know I cannot authorize a refund. The room has been used, needs to be cleaned in order to be resold, and there's no housekeeping on duty right now. To placate him so he'll go, I tell him he can call in the morning and speak with the general manager regarding the refund. He agrees, returns 1 room key, and leaves. Here's what I think. He requested the first floor for easy access to the side exit so I wouldn't see him enter the hotel. Guest 2 was likely here to entertain guest 1. Guest 1 only had 1 key to return to me because guest 2 obviously has the other. This whole thing was planned from the beginning so both guests could have a rendezvous without having to pay for the room. And guest 1 did not expect me to check the room and assumed I would take him at his word. This is speculation on my part, of course, but this isn't the first time this kind of scenario has happened to me before, so I'm fairly certain I know what he's pulling. And honestly, I'm amused, but I'm also just annoyed at the audacity of guests like this in assuming that they can pull one over on an employee as if we were born yesterday. Like, sir, do you really think I'm that big of an idiot? The schemes and plots that people come up with are truly never ending. Obviously, they were trying to not pay anything at all, but if you want a room just for a few hours, you can find that. I personally don't know of any hotels that offer rooms by the hour, but surely they must exist, right? You know, like, I don't know. To be honest though, I can't really remember the skit I did based off of that story. If I can find it, it will be linked, like I said, in the description on YouTube. Maybe that story ended up in my done folder by accident. Who knows? Next story. Tired of entitled guests. Been having so many issues lately with entitled guests who think the world should revolve around them. I had a guest who arrived at 11 a.m. looking to check in. Informed him, unfortunately, rooms aren't ready yet, but we can happily store his bags and notify him as soon as it is ready. He then throws a tantrum in the lobby about how this is unacceptable and how is it possible the room isn't ready. I tell him that checkout is at 11, so housekeepers are still cleaning but can notify him as soon as the room is done. He leaves pouting and I hold on to his bags. He comes back at 11:30 asking again. I tell him sorry, but still not ready. He then tries to argue how he has now been waiting all day. It's been 30 minutes and he has never been treated like this. Eventually, he storms off. I then get a call from his secretary saying, "My boss is very upset. Is there any discount or free amenity you could provide to rectify this inconvenience?" I flat out tell her no. Check-in is guaranteed for 3 p.m. as stated on the confirmation. Any early check-in is just us being nice and we do not have to guarantee it. She hangs up and I get a word from my housekeeping manager that the room is ready. I was about to call and tell him his room was ready, but decided it and didn't, as I'm tired of people acting so rude and entitled. A couple minutes later, a sweet lady comes to check in. She says she knows she's early but wanted to leave her bag. I remembered we had that clean room, so offered it to her as she was actually being nice. Checked her in and she even gave me a $5 tip for being so helpful. The guy came back asking about his room and I told him, unfortunately, your room won't be ready until 3. He sat on a chair in the lobby for 3 hours till the clock struck 3 p.m. and at that point, I finally told him his room was ready. I do remember making that skit, and that one was so much fun and so satisfying to make. Just chef's kiss. And truly, if you are just nice and understanding and patient, you will get so much further in life, but especially with service workers, than if you're rude and nasty and entitled and a whiny little baby. All right, this is the last story. It starts off a little weak and you'll see why, but then it gets good. The title is The Reception is No Nightclub. The original poster says, I'm so close to crying. I'm a female night auditor. There's a film event in our town at the moment, which is why our house is 100% full. And of course, I'm alone on the weekend. Last night, there were a lot of people drinking in the lobby. There were complaints about the volume, and I tried to remove them from the lobby several times. They were quite persistent, and as they got quieter, I allowed it. I have to say that as a woman, I don't really feel like starting a fight with drunk men. Management told me today that it's over at 12 o'clock at night since we are no nightclub. If I'm afraid or scared of guests, then I am allowed to call the police. I get to work at 10 p.m. and the lobby is full again. I tell everyone that 12 o'clock is closing time and they have to go to their rooms. They say they understand, but at 11:30, it's far too loud again. I go over and ask them to keep it down and that they only have 30 more minutes. At 12 o'clock, a few leave, but the really loud ones stay. I tell them they can finish their glass, but it needs to be over in 10 minutes. At 12:30, they're still sitting there. I go over and tell them they have to leave now. They then shout at me that they've never seen me before and they have every right to sit there. I repeat that I don't care if they've seen me. It's after 12, it's loud, and they should go to their room. But they continue to stay in the lobby. The night cleaner was there today. I call him in and they do the same shit to him, and they want me to call management now. But somehow they listen to my male colleague a bit more, of course, and he gives them until 1, otherwise police will be called. I'm really annoyed. We keep giving them chances only to be insulted in the end. Update. Hi, I thought you guys might like a little update on this as you have given so many tips on how to deal with this situation more confidently. The following happened on my shift yesterday and I'm very proud that I was able to implement your tips so quickly. Today I can enjoy my free day satisfied with my revenge. Yesterday I arrived at work at 10 o'clock on the dot for the night shift. From the staff entrance to the front office, you have to walk through the entire lobby. I arrive and hear a lot of noise. My mood drops below 0 degrees and I see the same group as the 2 evenings before. At first, I really couldn't believe it. Really, if you've already had problems with the hotel, you try to avoid further inconvenience normally. But, well, it's only 10 o'clock and if they're good this time, nothing has to happen, right? I greet my colleague and he's obviously very pissed. He tells me that he knows what happened the night before and that the guests were trying to make me look like a rude beast. But management doesn't believe them anyway, and the instruction is still that the fun stops at 12. As a precaution, I go back to the group and remind them that in 2 hours at the latest, everyone will be off to their rooms. I was dismissed with a yes, yes, whatever, and that made my blood boil again. And a small interjection, why misuse a lobby as some pub or frat house? Literally 2 minutes walk from our hotel is a 24/7 pub. You can drink and smoke there all night, literally. The smoking becomes important later. My colleague and I do the handover and he encourages me that as night auditor, I am of course authorized to give instructions and these people don't have to question my authority. I found that really encouraging in addition to all the things you've written. At 11:30, I remind the group that they had 30 more minutes and that it was, once again, far too loud. All they said was a resigned, okay, and one of them had the audacity to bring over another bottle of wine. You can see where they're going with this. The clock hits 12:01 a.m. They're still there. I go over and tell them that it's over now and they should go upstairs. The usual arguments ensued. Just one more drink. We're paying to be here. It's a communal area. I just smile, nod, go back to the front desk, and block their room keys. Then I go back to them and inform them that I'm calling the police now for disturbing the peace. Then came the real arguments. Calling the police is unnecessary. We're just drinking. 20 more minutes is fine. We've never heard of the midnight rule before, and so on. All this while one of them smokes his cigar openly. What? I turn around, go back, and pick up the phone. One of them sees this, so they jump up and head to the lift. However, the room cards no longer work. The second I've hung up, the most disrespectful member of the group comes to me and shouts at me about why the keys no longer work. I explained to him that they hadn't followed the rules several times and that the police are about to remove them from the premises. He shouts that this is not acceptable and that I should call my manager immediately. I tell him that nobody will be called and that they can get their things from the rooms accompanied by the police. He shouts, "Why are you talking to me like that? I went to university and you don't even have a proper job. You're just a bitch." At this point, I really couldn't take anymore and was just beside myself. I reply, "A bitch who's going to kick you out." Then I locked myself in the back office. The group kept shouting in the lobby, the guy banged on the door, and so on. It really was like a zoo. But the police arrived and they assured me that my actions were absolutely legitimate. In addition to the eviction, everyone was charged with noise nuisance. That was a nice feeling. Thank you everyone for encouraging me to take action against people like that. The rest of the shift was super quiet and I felt so relieved. They tried to get a refund today, but management said no. So, some super good news. I remember many a night working on the overnight audit where people would come to the lobby and try to hang out and drink and be loud. The way that people have absolutely no thought or consideration for the fact that there are people around them, it kills me. It kills me. Sometimes I think I'm hyper aware of all of the people around me and how much my actions might affect others, that it just drives me insane when other people don't have that same spatial awareness. Like, that's why I do believe the verbiage, "make yourself at home," does not belong in hotels. No, this is not your home. You don't get to treat it like your own house because you are one of many people who are paying to be at this property. Okay, rant over. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know which one of these stories/skits that were inspired by these stories was your favorite. I definitely have my own couple favorites in here, but I want to know what you think. My name is Jessica Vanell. If you would like access to my videos early, or if you'd like to connect with me directly on my exclusive Discord, you can join my Patreon for as low as $3 a month. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye!